Hi, yo, everybody. Sorry. Hi, everybody. I forgot what I said in my last tag. I think it was like Instagirl. No. Playing Mario Maker. No, not Mario Maker, but Mario Super Mario Bros. And it failed. Yeah, I'm knitting, so what? Anybody can do it. Yes, I did dish on my own. No him. Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna knit while I'm talking. Don't. If you do put hate in the comments about this, die in hell. Okay. I have Sets Busters here. I might do some of that, but nah, I can't be bothered. I don't know what to do. Well, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to start reading a book for you guys now. I think you guys might enjoy the pullman Northern Lights. I think you guys might enjoy this one. It's like really cool. So, Chapter 1, The Descender of Tokay. Lyra and her daemon moved through a darkening hall, taking care to keep to one side. Outside the kitchen, the 3 great tables that ran the length of the hall were laid already. The silver and the glass catching the light was there, and the long benches were pulled out ready for the guest. Portraits of former masters hung up in the gloom along the wall. Lyra reached the dais and looked back at the open kitchen door, and, seeing no one, stepped up beside the high table. The places here were laid with gold, not silver, and the 14 seats were not oak benches, but mahogany chairs with velvet cushions. Lyra stopped beside the master's chair and flicked the biggest glass gently with a fingernail. The sound rang clearly through the hall. "You're not taking this seriously," whispered her daemon. "Behave yourself." Her daemon's name was Pantalemon, and he was currently in the form of a moth, a dark brown one, so as not to show up in the darkness of the hall. They're making too much noise to hear from the kitchen," Lyra whispered back, "and the stewards don't come in until the first bell. Stop fussing." But she put her palm over the ringing crystal anyway, and Pantalemon fluttered ahead and through the slightly open door of the retiring room at the other end of the dais. After a moment he appeared again. "There's no one there," he whispered, "but we must be quick." Crouching behind the high table, Lyra darted through the door into the retiring room, where she stood up and looked around. The only light in here came from the fireplace, where a bright blaze of logs settled slightly as she looked, sending a fountain of sparks up into the chimney. She had lived most of her life in the college, but she'd never seen the retirement before. Only scholars and their guests were allowed in here, and never females. Even the maid-servants didn't clear in here. That was the butler's job alone. Pantalemon settled on her shoulder. "Happy now? Can we go?" he whispered. "Don't be silly. I want to look around." It was a large room with an oval table polished of rosewood, on which stood various I can't talk. Densitors and glasses there, whatever, and a silver smoking mill with a rack of pipes. On a sideboard neighbourly there was a little chafing dish and a basket of poppy heads. They do themselves well, don't they, Pan?" she said under her breath. She sat in one of the green leather armchairs. It was so deep she found herself nearly lying down, but she sat up again and tucked her legs under to look at the portraits on the wall. More old scholars, probably, robed, bearded, and gloomy. They stared out of their frames in solemn disapproval. What do you think they talk about? Lyra said, or began to say. Before she finished the question, she heard voices outside the door. Behind the chair, quick, whispered Pantalemon. And in a flash, Lyra was out of the armchair and crouching behind it. It wasn't the best hiding place. Wasn't the best for hiding behind. She'd chosen one in the very centre of the room, and unless she kept very quiet. The door opened, and the light changed in the room. One of the incomers was carrying a lamp. When he put down on the sideboard, Lyra could see his legs, in the dark green trousers and shiny black shoes. It was a servant. Then a deep voice said, Has Lord Asriel arrived yet? It was the master. As Lyra heard her breath, she saw the servant's demon, a dog, like almost all servants' demons, trot in and sit quietly at his feet, and the master's feet became visible too, in the shabby black shoes he always wore. No, master, said the butler. No word from the aerodock either. I'll expect he'll be hungry when he arrives. Show me straight into the hall, will you? Show him straight into the hall, will you? Very good, master. And you've descended some of the special Tokay for him? Yes, master. The 1989, as you ordered. His lordship is very partial to that, I remember. Good. Now leave me, please. Do you need the lamp, master? Yes, leave that too. Look in during dinner to trim it. Will you? The butler bowed slightly and turned to leave, his demand trotting obediently after him. For her, not much of a hiding place, Lyra watched as the master went to a large oak wardrobe in the corner of the room, took his gown from a hanger, and placed it laboriously on. The master had been a powerful man, but he was well over 70 now, and his movements were stiff and slow. The master's demand had a form of a raven, and as soon as his robe was on, she jumped down from the wardrobe and settled in her accustomed place on his right shoulder. Lara could feel Pantalemon's bristling with anxiety, though he made no sound. She was pleasantly excited. The visitor mentioned by the master, Lord Asriel, was her uncle, a man whom she admired and feared greatly. He said to be involved in high politics, in secret explorations, in distant warfare, and she never knew when he was going to appear. He was fierce. If he caught her in here, she'd be severely punished, but she could put up with that. What she saw next, however, changed things completely. The master took from his pocket a folded piece of paper and laid it on the table. He took the stopper out of the mouth of a descended container containing a rich golden wine, unfolded the paper, and poured a thin stream of white powder into the decanter before crumpling the paper and throwing it into the fire. Then he took a pencil from his pocket and stirred the wine until the powder has dissolved, and replaced the stopper. His demon gave a soft, brisk squawk. The master replied in an undertone, and looked around with his hooded, clouded eyes before leaving through the door he'd come in by. Lara whispered, "Did you see that, Pan?" "Of course I did. Now hurry up before the steward comes." But as he spoke, there came the sound of a bell ringing once from the far end of the hall. "That's the steward's bell. I thought we had more time than that." Tantalemon fluttered swiftly to the hall door and swiftly back. "The steward's there already," he said, "and you can't get out of the other door. The other door, the one master had entered and left by, opened onto the busy corridor between the library and the scholars' common room. At this time of day it was thronged with men pulling on their gowns for dinner, or hurrying to leave papers or briefcases in the common room before moving into the hall. Laura planned to leave the way she come, banking on another few minutes before the steward's bell rang. And if she hadn't seen the master tipping the powder into the wine, she might have risked the steward's anger, or hoped to avoid being noticed in the busy corridor. But she was confused, and that made her hesitate. Then she heard heavy footsteps on the dais. The steward was coming to make sure the tiring room was ready for the scholars' poppy and wine after dinner. Lara darted to the oak wardrobe and opened it and hid inside, pulling the door shut just as the steward entered. She had no fear for Pantalemon. The room was sombre-coloured, and he could always creep under a chair. She heard the steward's heavy wheezing, and though the crack where the door hadn't been quite shut, she saw him adjust the pipes in the rack by the smoking mill and cast a glance over the decanters and glasses. Then he smoothed his hair over his ears with both palms, and sitting to his demon, he was adjusted the pipes. Then he was a servant, so she was a dog, but a superior servant, so a superior dog. In fact, she had the form of a red setter. The demon seemed suspicious and cast around as if she scented an intruder, but didn't make for the wardrobe. To Lyra's intense relief, Lara, afraid of the steward, who had twice beaten her. Lara heard a tiny whisper. Obviously, Pantalemon had squeezed in beside her. "We're going to have to stay here now. Why didn't you listen to me?" She didn't reply until the steward left. It was his job to supervise the waiting at the high table. She could hear the scholars coming into the hall, the murmur of voices, the shuffle of feet. "It's a good thing I didn't," she said. We wouldn't have seen the master put poison in the wine otherwise." "Pan, that was the Tokay he asked the butler about. They're going to kill those." Azrael, you don't know it's poison." "Oh, of course it is. Don't you remember? He made the butler leave the room before he did it. If it was innocent, it wouldn't have mattered, the butler scene. And I know there's something going on. Something political. The servants have been talking about it for days, Pan. We could prevent a murder." "I've never heard such nonsense," he said shortly. "How do you think they're going to keep still for 4 hours in this poky wardrobe? Let me go and look in the corridor. I'll tell you when it's clear." He fluttered from her shoulder, and she saw his tiny shadow appearing in a quick light. "It's no good, Pan. I'm staying. There's another robe or something. I'll put that on the floor and make myself comfortable. I'm just going to see what they do." She'd been crouching. She carefully stood up, feeling around the coat hangers in order not to make a noise, and found that the wardrobe was bigger than she thought. There were several academic robes and hoods, and some with fur around them, most faced with silk. "I wonder if these are all the masters," she whispers. "Well, he gets honorary degrees from other places. Perhaps they give him fancy robes and he keeps them for dressing up. Pan, do you really think it's not poison in the wine?" "No, I think it is, like you do. And I think it's none of our business. And I think it would be the silliest thing you've ever done in your lifetime of silly things to interfere. It's nothing to do with us. Don't be stupid, Lara. I can't sit here and watch them give him poison. Come somewhere else then." "You're a coward, Pan." "Certainly, I am. May I ask you what you intend to do? Are you going to leap out and snatch the glass from his trembling fingers? What do you have in mind?" "I didn't have anything in mind, and well, you know it," she snapped quietly. "But now I've seen what the master did, I haven't got any choice. You're supposed to know about coincidence, aren't you? How can I just go and sit in the library or somewhere and twiddle my thumbs, knowing what's going to happen? I don't intend to do that, I promise you." And I think I'm going to stop there. So we're up to "promise you." That's what Lyra's saying. Cliffhanger, but it's not the end of the page. Well, like, if I think of anywhere and I can look and I can see the promise you, we're up to there on the page, so we still have all that to read, and we're on page 9. So that's Philip Pullman, Northern Lights so far. So I do really hope you enjoyed this. Bye.